Thank you so much, Amina. That was unbelievable. I wish I could participate, but I'm hoping that I can get a little private lesson later on. We're in talks, we're in discussions. Next up, you are going to love this discussion. If you are a parent, a grandparent, or even an uncle or an aunt, we all know how hard it is when you have little kids with big feelings, right? There's many of them out there. And that is what Dr. Ann-Louise Lockhart is all about. She has so many amazing topics that she's going to cover today. She is the founder of A New Day Pediatric Psychology. She's a pediatric psychologist, a parent coach, a board certified in clinical child and adolescent psychology. So not just the little kids, but those kind of scary adolescents. She's got more than 15 years experience in clinical experience, and she herself is a mom of 2. We're so happy to have her. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to hear your discussion today, and you are welcome to take a seat whenever you're ready. Right. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am honored to be here with Aussie Bubs and all of you all here today. Beautiful location, and it's been an awesome few hours that I've been here already. So as Sloan said, I'm a doctor in pediatric psychology, and I've used that as a foundation to help with my parent coaching. And I know one big thing that I've heard a lot, especially in the past 2 years, is this whole issue of keeping a balance, right? We keep talking about staying balanced. But when many of us were stuck at home or safe at home, however you want to frame it, being at home with little ones and big ones is a lot. So what I want to discuss is the whole issue of co-regulation and self-regulation. And co-regulation is important because co-regulation is about the kind of the prerequisites to self-regulation, okay? So what I want you to think about is when we talk about co-regulation, what comes to mind? So just kind of think in your mind, what do you think of when you think of co-regulation? What does that look like?
Like getting down on your child's level, so you're eye to eye.
Okay, so getting down on your child's level. Okay, what else comes to mind when you think of co-regulation?
Being able to manage your own emotional escalation.
Okay, so managing your own emotional escalation. So yes, those are exactly what co-regulation is about. It's about really giving to our child what they may not have yet. Okay, so this is how I normally frame it. Say you are a lender at a bank, a large bank, and you have someone that comes in and they need a bunch of money, I don't know, for property, a home, whatever, but they have no credit, no savings, no money. They don't even have a checkbook. Is it easy to lend to that kind of individual? Probably not. Why? Because they probably won't pay you back, right? Co-regulation, when you are the parent of a child, is exactly that. We are giving to a child something that they aren't able to do yet, because we're giving them something they don't have, that their brain hasn't done yet. And when we look at that, that's something that's really important because that is something that really keeps them from managing themselves. Now, when we talk about self-regulation, that is something that is really important because self-regulation is an executive function skill. And it's something that builds over the course of couple decades, and not until age 26 do kids have the ability to do a lot of the things that we are expecting that they know how to do. Self-regulation is one of those executive functioning skills. So when we're asking or thinking that a child should know better, they should know how to control themselves, why are you mad at me? Why are you having a bad day? Sit still. Those are all self-regulation. And self-regulation is really, really tough, okay? So when we think about co-regulation is the precursor, and it's something that we have to give. So back to the bank example, the lender example, right? If you are a lender, basically what you're doing with co-regulation is you're giving to your child something that they can't do yet. Out of the goodness of your heart, because you have to give it to them because they don't know how to do it yet. So that might be taking a breath, like you just did with your yoga. using all of those meditation and self-regulation skills so that you can center yourself. That's a big part of co-regulation. It might be just closing your eyes. It might be saying a mantra to yourself. Okay, their tantrum has nothing to do with me. This is normal. It takes a few decades for this to happen. It's okay. I'm not a bad parent. They're not a bad kid. All of that is part of co-regulation. It might be taking a break for yourself, taking a walk, tagging your partner, okay, you're it, going for a run. All of that is co-regulation. What you're doing is you're basically gearing yourself up so that you can lend to someone who, again, has bad credit, okay? So when we're looking at that, that's what we have to think about as co-regulation. It's something that you do for yourself. Now, people say, well, you know, is this realistic? Well, yeah, if you think about your partner, your spouse, we do this all the time. If I've had a bad day and I come home and my husband's like, hey, how was your day? I'm like, oh, you would not believe it. And I just unload. And he just sits there and listens and says, man, that sounds tough. And I take a breath. He's just given me co-regulation because I didn't have it in that moment. Now, am I a grown adult? Is my brain already fully developed? Absolutely, but it doesn't mean I'm always self-regulated. So co-regulation helps us to do that, okay? So the self-regulation piece is being able to then do it for ourselves. And that's what we really want to be able to teach our kids how to do, but it happens over time, okay? So then secure attachment. Secure attachment is a big piece of the co-regulation piece and self-regulation. Now, many people think, oh, I'm going to damage my attachment if I yell at my kid or I storm off and say I need a break. Now we're saying, no, we don't want to be yelling at our kids, but we're not perfect parents, and sometimes that's going to happen. It doesn't mean that you're going to damage attachment because you mess up and you're dysregulated at any one point in time. Secure attachment happens very early in life. And what we want to do is continue to develop that type of secure attachment so that they know basically that this person, this parent, this caregiver is reliable. I can trust that they're going to be there for me, and I can trust that they're going to regulate themselves. Because a big piece of the emotion and helping our little kids navigate these big feelings is when they're having these big feelings, we want to communicate to our child, your emotions are not too much for me. Because when they are anxious or feeling depressed, or they have a diagnosis like bipolar, ADHD, or they just have a very sensitive temperament, all of these feelings are new. Now when they go into teenage years even though they're bigger kids, it's the same thing. All of these hormones and these are new emotions. It's scary to have these big feelings. So if you have a parent, a caregiver, a big person in your life, that they don't know how to manage their own feelings, and your feelings are too much for them, that's scary. So when we say, oh, they should just know better, they should know how to handle themselves better, a big part of secure attachment is being able to communicate to them that you are not too much for me. And that's what we really want to be able to do, is building that secure attachment is doing that. So a big thing that people often talk about is like, well, what about my parent triggers? Okay, we all have them. Okay, again, we're not perfect parents. We need to just be good enough. Okay, so our parent triggers are, there's a couple things I want you to think of. When your child is doing something, is that particular behavior always triggering for you? So for example, my kids are 9 and 12. They're amazing kids. They talk a lot. And my siblings think this is revenge, because I was a kid of the 80s. I talked a lot. And I had a cassette player, recorder, and a 90-minute cassette tape, and I would record myself talking and telling jokes and teaching, all kinds of stuff. I would record it, 90 minutes, both sides, and then I would play it back. And my older siblings will be like, oh my gosh, Mom, make her shut up, right? That piece of it is like, you know, that was fun for me, but my kids are big talkers like me. Some days I think it's hilarious. I think it's cute and adorable. I love listening to them come up with all these new things, and I join them with it, right? And then other times I'm just like, oh my gosh, is this payback? It's the same exact behavior, but I have a different response each time. So why am I triggered, right? Now, do you think that that might be a little confusing for kids? If one moment you're just like, oh my gosh, you're adorbs, and the next moment you're just like, oh my gosh, please be quiet. That can be confusing. So is it really about the child's behavior, or is it about you? And again, that's where navigating these big feelings is a big part of it, because many times when I talk to parents in parent coaching sessions, it's not really about the kid's behavior, it's more about the parent. And parents who realize that it's not about shaming or blaming yourself, it's about knowing that, okay, why is it at one point this behavior I thought was cute and adorable and I wanted to like video it and share it with my friends, and another moment I was like, oh my gosh, I'm done with parenting. Okay, where do I sign away from this, right? It's about you. So what I want you to think about is that when you're triggered by your child's behavior, really think about, okay, is this developmentally appropriate? And what is my unmet need? Is there something that I am not doing for myself that is triggering me to have this big reaction? Is it self-care? Do I need rest? Is my body tense? Have I connected with other adults today or this week? Have I eaten? Am I hangry? Have I gotten a nap? Maybe have I had downtime? Am I hydrated? There's all different things. Have I gotten up from my desk? Am I saying that I'm spending all day with my kids, but am I really spending time with them, or am I just at home with them in their presence? So really all of these things, really think about what are my parent triggers and what's really triggering me to have this particular reaction. Okay, so common misconceptions. When you think about parenting, some common misconceptions that I often hear, this is huge, is this kid is manipulating me. They should know better, and they're manipulating. I hear this a lot with teenagers, most definitely, but I also hear it with the little ones. I had one parent years ago say, I think my child is a psychopath. And I'm like, what? They're 3. Yeah. But I Googled it. And Google said that a psychopath is someone who manipulates their prey to get what they want. And I'm like, that's every child, right? And it's not manipulation. They're just trying to get a need met. They're not little psychopaths. They're not little criminals in your home. You're not being held hostage. These are all things I've heard. No, it's about a child who's trying to get a need met. And if you're doing it, but you're not fully present, that could feel hard for them. That could feel like they're not really present and that you're not really present. So no, they're not manipulating me or manipulating you. Another thing is, well, they should know better in general. Well, they know they shouldn't throw the food on the floor. They know they should sleep through the night. They know they should use the potty. They know that they hurt my feelings with the words they said. Well, but do they? Do they really know? Are there things that you do that you should know better? I had a parent coaching session one time with a couple, and it was so funny. It was about 2 weeks before tax day here in the US. And I said, they're 5 and 6-year-old. He's like, yeah, he should know better. He should know not to call his brother names, and he should know not to, and a long list of should know. And I said, well, if you think about it as an adult, tax deadline is in 2 weeks. And, you've probably known that taxes are due in 2 weeks, and you've known this for quite some time. And it would be like, and he's like, hold on, Dr. Lockhart. Hey, Siri or Alexa, remind me to file my taxes. No, actually, it was the day before taxes were due, actually. And I'm like, okay, he's like, okay, your case was made. I know better, yet I still didn't do and prepare the way that I expected. So yeah, they should know better in many ways, but so do you, and you still mess up, right? I know I shouldn't yell at my kids, yet I do. I know I shouldn't stay up late watching shows when I should go to bed, yet I get revenge bedtime procrastination because it's my time, right? There's lots of things that we know should and what we should do better, and yet we don't. So I think we need to be aware of that for our own children so that we're not putting those misconceptions on them. Another one that I heard, and I spoke with some ladies earlier, is the whole idea of, well, what if they're doing these things, and then I think that maybe they should know to do better, and I've already taught them, shouldn't they know? Shouldn't they just remember? Now again, self-monitoring and self-awareness is a huge part of that. And all of that can really get us stuck in not knowing, because we don't always know when we're rolling our eyes or, why are you having that attitude, young man? That's self-monitoring. That's a big skill. That's one of the last things to develop for a lot of kids.